So I would like to go over the guide, and in order to do that, the guide that I made, in order to do that, I will turn my camera off. So this is going to be going over my guide for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order. The very first thing I would like to note is that this game has a few major categories. Story plus epilogue. I'll go to the main menu and show that story, including the epilogue, has 4 difficulties. You can go from friendly, mighty, superior, and then finally on to ultimate. The epilogue will unlock for each difficulty if you complete the previous difficulty of epilogue. So once you have completed the game on Mighty, the main story on Mighty, I should say, because that is where you will start playing. Friendly is just for, I think, the amount of aggression of the enemies that you face. They're less aggressive and don't attack you as often. So if you want a really easy way to play through the story, you can play on Friendly. But Mighty is where you start getting some rewards, and it unlocks more of the content. So you can play chapters 1 through 10 on Mighty, which will then unlock the Shadow of Doom chapter select, which is the Mighty version of epilogue. So you'll start Palace Corridor, and then go all the way through the fight on Mighty. After you beat the story on Mighty, you will be able to play the epilogue on Superior, and then on Ultimate. On Mighty difficulty, you will unlock the Fantastic Four in the middle of the story, and then by completing the epilogue on Mighty, you will unlock Doctor Doom. Completing Superior difficulty of the epilogue will unlock ability tier 5, so you'll be able to upgrade your abilities to tier 5, which will allow them to be less interruptible. You'll gain some armor on your moves and not be able to be interrupted as often when you're attacking. And it also unlocks a costume for Doom called the God Emperor Doom costume, which is his white outfit. If you have not unlocked regular Thanos at this point, Superior Epilogue will also unlock regular Thanos. Ultimate difficulty Epilogue completion will unlock Infinite Thanos and the Omega Infinity Rift. So, the Omega Infinity Rift, as all Infinity Rifts, have to be done from the main menu. You will not be able to find them through any of the DLC packs. Let's go to the beginning. Okay, so here, this is the first rift you ever unlock. The Gamma Rift. You'll be able to unlock Elektra in this, as well as an outfit for Captain America, an outfit for Hulk, an outfit for Spider-Man, and then getting enough stars will unlock costumes for Black Widow, Captain Marvel, and Elektra as well. Next is the Psi Rift. You'll be able to get a costume for Luke Cage, as well as Gamora, and then unlock Magneto. The costumes for star completion are Ms. Marvel, Spider-Gwen, and Iron Man. As far as the Sigma Rift, there are 51 stars, where you'll get the costumes for Hawkeye, Nightcrawler, and Loki. You can also unlock costumes for Wolverine, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. Loki is the unlockable character in this rift. The next few are the Lambda and Omega Infinity Rifts. These are a bit more difficult. They have outfits for Deadpool, Falcon, Magneto, Star-Lord, and then Thanos is the unlockable character at the top. For star completion, you have Elsa Bloodstone, Miles Morales, and Thanos outfits. In the Omega Rift, it's loading, there are no unlockable costumes or characters unless you get every single star in this rift, in which case you get an outfit for Deadpool. I don't remember which outfit it is, but currently I use the Chef Deadpool outfit, and Deadpool is unique. He has 6 outfits instead of just 4. In the Phi Rift, you will unlock Colossus and Cyclops, and then there is an outfit for Hulk, as well as the outfit for Spider-Man if you get every single star in this rift. And this specific outfit for Spider-Man is the symbiote suit Spider-Man, which I do use. Next, I would like to go over my tier list and the reasons why I have each character in which tier. So if I go to Hero Select, my tier list should be in here somewhere. Oh, that's right. Okay. So, I will start with my team. Well, okay, I'll discuss my team afterward. I will start by saying that you have ability info right on this screen by pressing R. By pressing L, you have team bonuses that you can scroll through, showing you what your team bonuses will be in each team. So, oh my gosh, I keep going back. If you click the Y button, this will show you all of the team bonuses that are possible, and then the active team bonuses that you can get by pressing ZR. So, I would recommend trying to stack up team bonuses for the attack stat of most of the characters in your squad. Such as, X-Men have a strength bonus on their team bonus, and quite a few of these characters are energy-based damage. Storm, Psylocke, Magneto, Cyclops, Phoenix, Gambit, Iceman, and Cable are all energy damage. Therefore, if you put Deadpool, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Colossus in a team together, they already get 7% strength as a bonus. I'll just show you this team really quickly.
You are the best. You got it.
You will not regret your decision.
Introducing
I promise you
the
this.
only,
Are you sure?
the
I'll give you a second
legendary
to change your mind.
Nightcrawler.
So it is briefly going through each of the team bonuses, and it tells you. But going here over to active bonuses, 4 characters are in the X-Men faction. 2 of them are anti-heroes, Wolverine and Deadpool. 2 of them are X-Force. I don't... Ah, right. Sorry. All 4 are X-Men. 2 of them are anti-heroes. 3 of them are X-Force. Cutting Edge. 3 of them are Cutting Edge. All new X-Men. Again, 3. And then Heavy Metal. 2 of them. This is a very heavy synergy X-Men team, and you will notice 17% strength on a character like Wolverine or Colossus will do quite a lot when you stack up their strength up to the amount that I have stacked it with these Rainbow +3 and +4 AA ISO 8. I'm not sure which number I would use in order to calculate exactly how much strength he has after the team bonuses kick in, but I'm pretty sure that alliance enhancements are taken into account when you're looking at the stat for these heroes. Sports stats. These are all the hero traits and enhancements. Most of them are from Alliance Enhancement, and some of them are from the ISO 8. Anyway, there is a very big difference in the amount of damage that characters will do. Not to mention that Wolverine has Primal Rage, which does already increase his attack damage mid-battle as an ability. So, not only does he have that 18,000 mastery, he can also increase his attack power with Primal Rage, which is unique to him. Captain America is the only one who can increase attack power for the entire team. Now, in terms of the tier list, I should say that if I'm going through each tier, I had put Doctor Strange, Elsa Bloodstone, and Rocket and Groot at the bottom. They are all D tier. Yes, you can use them, but you will not do very well in battle when you use them. One of the reasons that I put Doctor Strange so low is, yes, he has high energy, high resilience, but his mastery isn't actually that bad. He does ethereal damage, and his abilities don't synergize well. Not to mention, Crimson Bands of Sidorak does not work on bosses that well. It is a binding effect, and you would have to spam the ability much faster than the Web Warriors can do this in order to actually bind bosses, and some bosses will be immune to that. Winds of Watum is a healing, which you should not need on any team, because ISO 8 will usually take care of that for you. Flames of the Faltine and Bolts of Baltac are not good enough to do enough damage for abilities or synergies for that matter. Bolts of Baltac does not last long. It is a rotating beam. You cannot keep the beam in one place. If you could do that, I would use Doctor Strange much more, but also Flames of the Faltine has very low range, and you cannot hold it for very long. So, in the case that you do use Doctor Strange, Flames of the Faltine is probably his best ability, especially given that it says it does A class damage, but it only does D class stagger damage. So, good luck not getting interrupted when this is used. As far as Elsa Bloodstone, she has good range, as she uses pretty much only projectile attacks. So, in that regard, you can definitely put projectile damage on her, but again, her strength not that high. So, since that melee, projectile, and piercing damage are all based on strength, whereas energy damage and ethereal damage are based on mastery. Also, Bloodstone having all of her attack types being strength based, she needs a lot more than 13,000 strength to deal a lot of damage. And modding her up to have the best ISO 8 is not a very good use of the ISO 8 that you have acquired, unfortunately. Anyway, on to Rocket and Groot. I still don't think that they're very good. They do have a beam, a melee slam, melee barrage, and then explosive. None of these abilities do too much damage, even with synergies. I've tried to use Rocket and Groot in the Guardians team, and it just doesn't do that well. While their strength may be a little higher, 2 of their abilities are energy, 2 of their abilities are melee, so I still think that they could have had a safeguard ability, and Groot would have been able to safeguard your team for, I don't know, a few seconds, and that would have made Rocket and Groot a lot better, because safeguards in this game are pretty good. Anyway, on to my next tier. I would like to move on to C tier. First heroes that I had in C tier are
Ready
Falcon,
to take flight.
Iron Man, actually,
I'm ready to present
Daredevil,
my case.
and where's Wanda?
Just say the magic word.
Wanda. I can talk about them more quickly, but Falcon, he does okay damage. His melee slam ability is not as fast as I would like it to be. He does a jump into the air and then slams onto the ground. Falcon Flight is a launch. These are good synergy attacks, but the startup and end lag of each of these abilities is too much, and charging them isn't really very viable. Charging the Twisting Talon, at least. His charge ability is his best ability, and then Razor Storm can pick apart with Rapid Fire, but I think Red Wing Rush is the best synergy mechanic. Therefore, I have Falcon on my farming team, because he can do a lot of synergies, and, well, he does okay damage. It's not the best. Iron Man also does okay damage. Repulsor Array is fine, but I would have liked for him to have, instead of Thruster Charge, an ability to pull enemies into him with a magnetic effect. If he could do that, then it would make more sense to have Repulsor Array. Unless you were able to move forward while using Repulsor Array. But Unibeam is a standard beam. It does good damage, as well as if you can use it to synergize. Missile Barrage is his best ability, I believe. And it is an energy damage, so given that his strength is somewhat low, his mastery is also somewhat low, you can go for energy or mastery, but be careful, because Thruster Charge is a melee ability. So if you would like to boost the damage of this, and if you use this more, then boost his strength instead of his mastery. But since 3 of his abilities are energy, I chose to boost his mastery instead, with his ISO 8. Anyway, he also can fly, which is very nice, but it's not necessary to make a good hero. Daredevil. So, Vigilante Justice, the big problem that I have with this ability is that it does not connect properly with enemies. It doesn't have a big enough hitbox to be able to damage enemies consistently, and that is a big part of using your abilities, is being able to consistently hit enemies. Billicle Blitz is actually okay, but given its lack of range, you would only ever use it when an enemy is stunned. And if Daredevil is going against a boss, using your basic attacks consistently doesn't do enough. He also has a really mediocre base stats. He has good defense, good or okay defense, okay offense, okay energy, and decent vitality, but that doesn't make him a good hero. He's just okay. Scarlet Witch. Now, her problem is that she doesn't have enough mastery. She should have been given way more mastery. And she also doesn't have very much health for her defense as well. Her health and defense stats are all lacking. Though she is purely ethereal damage, which is nice. She does have a healing ability, which is fine, but Hex Bolts and Calamity Spears are her best abilities. They both do A class damage, which is great, and they're not very EP use. They don't have very high EP use. Disaster Field is not very good. It will cause a slowing effect on some enemies, but it doesn't work on everyone. So, in my opinion, Scarlet Witch is only okay, though her basic attacks are better than most of the rest of the cast. So, in general, if she had a little bit higher damage, then I would put her in B tier. But I have modded her out with ethereal damage, and I do use her from time to time. It's just unfortunate that she doesn't get as much mastery as some others. Now, the rest of the heroes I will only talk about briefly. Moon Knight is suffering from kind of the same thing as Scarlet Witch. He doesn't have enough melee damage or projectile damage because his strength is just not all there. And I really wish that
shall we make some mischief?
I really wish that he had more damage, because honestly, having the Moon God Khonshu or Khonsu would have been pretty cool to have a little bit more damage. But yeah, he has a slam ability, burst, launch, and barrage, all of which are good. Crescent Kick is the one I use the most. Vengeance Burst when you're in a tight spot. He does have Glide, which is fun, but yeah, he's just alright. Punisher suffers from being too much of a projectile damage based character. Yes, he does have Smokescreen. Yes, he does have Heavy Artillery, where he jumps into the air. Or, sorry, Fire in the Hole. Both of these will have him retreat, but if you're constantly being pursued, like by a boss, Wolverine, then Punisher doesn't do well because he can't set up any of his abilities like Sniper Shot that do the best damage. He can hold the charge, but it's just not enough damage. He requires a tank on the team to take most of the beating, and if you're reliant on another character being on your team, then you're just not as good. Though his damage is a little bit better than some others, so if you mod him well, he can do some decent damage. Ghost Rider, again, suffers the same thing. He's mixed between melee and energy damage. and because of that, his strength and mastery should both be bolstered, but if you're trying to go for both, you can't do as much with one of them. Also, he does have a really good defense. His durability and resilience are some of the highest in the game, I believe, which is really nice. And he has the fire element, which means he is immune to burning, and he has fire resistance. All of his abilities have fire ability attributes, which is great. So you'll deal the bonus burning damage on top of the damage of the abilities. Hellfire Chain is fine. Hell Cycle is the one ability where I wish did better. It is hard to control, cannot be used for very long, and I don't know. I wish it was easier to control and could be used for longer, because if you could also use Hellfire Chain while you were on the Hell Cycle, Ghost Rider would definitely be one of the best in the game. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Blazing Skull is just like Flames of the Faltine on Doctor Strange. It doesn't do as much damage as it should, and its range is not that high. Raging Inferno is okay. It's mediocre, similar to the Vengeance Blast from Moon Knight, but hey, it's okay. Loki is another one of the very few ethereal damage-based characters. Deep Freeze is pretty good. You can freeze enemies and then use Dark Magic, which are tracking bolts of ethereal damage. So Frost Illusion will also be good for casting an ice ability. For me, Loki does really need synergy damage and being able to decrease the number of attacks he must land before inflicting a status effect. This is very important on a lot of the status effect reliant heroes and villains in the game. Loki is one of them. And he has cold resistance, which means he cannot be frozen. And then since he has flight, he is able to move around pretty easily. But that's it for C tier. On to B tier. There are more of them in this game. This is one of the bigger tiers. I put Cable at the top of B tier. I know some people believe in him more than I do. Where's Cable?
The future won't save itself.
I put Hawkeye in here. Magneto is also in here. And then I put Blade in this tier as well. So, in general, Cable is very good at using his Safeguard ability to stop any damage coming his way. Now, he does rely on synergy attacks a lot, because he has a beam that he can set up, but it doesn't last very long. And then another one of his abilities, TK Spike, is an area of effect, but if he holds it too long, he will get stunned, which is very not good. And then he has a magnetic orb that he can shoot out, a gravitational orb, but it doesn't last as long as it should, and, well, Magneto does it better. So, in my opinion, Magneto and Cable are both good supports. They're not the best, but they're good. They both have gravitational abilities that can pull enemies to one spot so they can cluster and deal a lot of damage to everyone very quickly. That is very helpful on a lot of teams. Hawkeye is, in my opinion, a better version of Punisher. Even though Punisher was DLC, I think Hawkeye does it better. Hawkeye has a few ability attributes where he can use electric arrows to stun enemies at the same time as dealing AoE damage by firing multiple arrows at a time. This is very good. He also has an ability to fire in the sky, which does burning damage on enemies, fire ability attribute. And his basic attacks are pretty decent, keeping his range from enemies and being able to deal consistent damage over time. Blade does pretty good damage. However, he does need to charge his abilities in order to do that, and max charge takes about 3 seconds. If you're charging abilities for 3 seconds before using them, it's going to take way too long. Especially if you're only able to attack certain enemies at once. He has a gun that he can charge as well, which does some good damage, but his launching spinning swords ability is his best in my opinion. It does the most damage, and it is very good for a piercing attack. So put Blade on for a lot of strength, and he will do okay. It's just not one of the best heroes. The next few I'd like to talk about are Black Widow,
Mission accepted.
Guess who's
Star-Lord,
You
Elektra,
hire me for the job. You get what
and
you pay for.
My
Iron
cheeks are
Fist.
tuned and I'm ready to fight.
These four are all decent. Iron Fist and Elektra deal some good piercing damage. And by good, I mean actually good damage for piercing. Or, sorry, good strength-based damage. Elektra's piercing, Iron Fist is melee. But they both have some good damage for stagger, is what I meant to say, not piercing. They both have good stagger damage. In the case that you're using them as your main stagger engines, loading them up with stagger damage on their ISOs is very important. Their charge abilities will be very nice to use consistently against bosses, because that will keep bosses staggered and stunned, and then you can use a tank or another damage attacker to keep them in stun longer, or just have a consistent way to deal damage other than Elektra and Iron Fist. Star-Lord does okay damage, not that great, but he does have a lot of various status effect attacks. He is good at inflicting status effects, but could be a little better, and since he has the same type of push out fire ability that Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange have, it's okay, but he's just a little bit better than them, since he has other status effects as well, including shock and ice freezing. So I'd like to think that Star-Lord is okay, but not one of the better status effect heroes. Black Widow is very evasive and does some good damage, and she does have a shock ability attribute with Widow's Kiss. I'll show it briefly. I believe it's Widow's Kiss. Yes. It's a B damage, and given that it's an energy attack, you will want to load up on Mastery. But I think Widow's Kiss, Widow's Bite, and Widowmaker are her best abilities. These are all things that can synergize very well, since electric attacks can do a lot of stagger damage when they synergize, which is great. Anyway, load her up with Mastery and decrease the number of attacks you must land before inflicting a status effect, because that is very important. Then again, her defense is not as high, and, well, she will take a few hits, so make sure she stays alive. After this, the last four in B tier, and being average, are
you sure?
Deadpool,
I'll give you a second to change your
This
Crystal,
princess is willing to get her hands
mind.
dirty.
Gamora,
Nice choice.
and
I
Drax.
am ready.
As far as the Guardians of the Galaxy goes, Drax and Gamora both have pretty good damage. They both have some good damage, mostly physical damage, so you'll load them up with strength. Crystal's the opposite. She has some status effects, but again, they don't last as long as other status effect users. So Crystal suffers from a lack of damage, and not enough target or hitboxes on her abilities. She should have been able to burn enemies from far away, and I guess if you use enough isolate on her that decrease the number of attacks you must land before inflicting a status effect, then she could potentially land status effects on her basics, which will change elements. I believe it's randomly, not necessarily based on what abilities you're using, but I believe it's just random. Deadpool suffers from a lack of damage as well. He does have decent hitboxes and good synergies, but he doesn't do as much damage as some of his X-Men counterparts. Now, we get into A tier.
What's
Wasp,
the buzz?
The
Thor,
son of Odin shall answer your prayers.
In
Thanos,
truth, there was never any other option.
and
I like the
Psylocke
way you
are the
think.
first I would like to talk about. All of these four have solid damage, especially stagger damage. Wasp and Thor are both electric in their ability types. They both have the shock ability attribute damage, so you can load them up with the same ISOs, theoretically. Thanos has very heavy stagger damage with his melee, as well as energy damage attacks. Thanos is split between energy and strength, but whichever path you go with, Thanos can deal very solid damage. Psylocke is energy damage based, load her up with mastery, as well as stagger damage. She has launch and charge abilities that deal quite a lot of damage to bosses. Very, very solid damage. And now in A tier here, these four are very, very solid picks. Next, I will talk about Storm.
You
Luke
made the
Cage,
right call.
Gambit,
Remy Lebeau at your service, Cher.
and
Beware
Mortis.
the living vampire.
Storm is one of the lowest damage out of any of the A tier characters. However, her damage is only low because she has some of the best control effects in the game. She has access to both long-range freeze abilities that charges pretty fast. She has Lightning Storm that can shock enemies very quickly. And then she also has Tornado and very good basic attacks to be able to control the battlefield very well. So in a sense where you are going up against either bosses or a lot of enemies at a time, she is able to synergize and deal some great control damage. So she is one of the best support attackers in the game. Luke Cage is a great tank. He does have a weakness of attack speed, and I think that is more common with some of the tanks in this game. But in terms of tanks, he is lower on the list, and with his whip he does some good damage. So he is solid as a tank, and if you would like to put a lot of defense on him and make him the target of enemies, you could do that. That is a very viable strategy as Luke Cage because he will be able to throw around enemies with his whip and deal very good damage in his area of effect. His movement is limited because he does only have one jump, along with most tanks in the game. Gambit is an energy damage based character, has very solid synergies, and if you stack up the cards correctly, he can deal a lot of burst damage with his stab of his staff, exploding all of his cards at once. I will say his rapid fire ability with the cards is not all that it's meant to be. I think it is better to mix up using Gambit's abilities and use his luck of the draw into kinetic burst and use dangerous ground at times. Dangerous ground can be used twice, and then if you use Luck of the Draw and Kinetic Burst, that will end up being a lot of damage. Morbius is one of the first rushdown characters that we have to talk about. He has Slashing Strike, which does some not very good damage, but he will be able to attack at high speed and just dash through enemies, cutting them up slowly. Vicious Vamp is the ability you use when enemies are staggered or stunned, but Claws and Fangs is what I use most of the time when I use Morbius. He can fly, and this is a dash, which can temporarily boost the damage that the character inflicts, actually. So, it's very good damage, and it is a dash. So, with Hypnotic Gaze, he can also render enemies unable to move for a second. On to the next part of A tier, we have Nightcrawler,
the only, the legendary
Venom, Miles Morales,
Well, you got one. Let's
Spider-Man. Actually, I'll talk about Nightcrawler in a little bit.
Certified web warrior at your service.
Here we go. All of the web warriors are pretty decent when it comes to fighting in this game. They all have projectile attacks in the fact of rapid fire projectile able to bind enemies. Where is it? Dark Web. Yes. I'm not sure if Venom is actually able to bind enemies, but everyone else is able to bind enemies with a Web Blast, that is rapid fire. I like Spider-Gwen the most. She has a lot of various melee abilities that I enjoy a lot. But this team is very strength-based, and given that they don't have as much strength in the game, they make up for it with attack speed. Venom does have more strength, but they have a lot of strength, and I should mention Miles Morales is actually mastery-based since he has shock ability attributes on all of his abilities. So you can load his ISO 8 up with shock ability attribute damage. Anyway, Spider-Man is the most all-rounded, though this entire team is very agile and does very good at crowd control. They do lack damage against bosses, though. Bosses are difficult for them to take down because they don't have as much stagger damage as the entire rest of the cast. I still would put them in A tier because they have the bind synergy as well as Venom's slightly higher damage and Miles Morales' shock ability attribute damage. But if you're relying on Miles and Venom to deal all of the damage for the team, and Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen to bind enemies that some of them cannot be bound, this team is missing a few key attributes, unfortunately. They have good combos, great basic attacks, but it's just not enough. The next few I'll talk about are
This
Captain Marvel
ready for action.
and Nightcrawler.
the only,
These are the last
legendary Nightcrawler.
characters in A tier. I will start by talking about Captain Marvel. She is pretty all-rounded. Very good offense and defense, decent energy, great vitality, honestly. Photon Punch is able to be charged, I believe. Cosmic Burst is decent. Blast Off is probably her strongest ability. Launch and Charge, again, some of the best synergy traits in the game, along with Slam and what was the other one? Slam, Burst, and Area Assault is also very good. Okay. The difference with Captain Marvel is that she is much more difficult to put ISO 8 on. Yes, her best abilities are melee, but you will also have to use her energy damage abilities because her melee abilities are not as easy to target enemies with. You'll sometimes find that enemies are not in your area and you have to get to them quickly, or they're behind you and you have to use Cosmic Burst to get them away, and then you can follow up with Photon Punch. Or if they're far enough away that you can't hit with any of these, maybe you use Cosmic Beam to dwindle them down, and then you can finish them off with Cosmic Burst or Photon Punch. Or even dash at them and then use Blast Off. But in my opinion, Captain Marvel is one of the most difficult to mod. And I need to look into her specifically, because when she uses her EX ability, her ultimate, you could call it, I believe she enters a state where she does more damage for a certain amount of time, but I have yet to test that. Her strength and mastery are pretty evenly balanced, so she'll deal good damage, but it should be bolstered even higher with the correct ISO 8. Nightcrawler does some pretty good damage, and he is another one of the rushdowns. Given that he has teleport, he is, in my opinion, the fastest character in the game. He can teleport and jump very quickly. He can cover a very long distance very quickly. So if you're trying to get through the story without fighting anyone, without fighting any enemies, Nightcrawler can teleport through it very, very quickly. He is obviously strength-based and has solely piercing damage. Legendary Tail is his best ability, as well as Bamf Strike. This is a slam, and then this is an area assault. These are both very good abilities to synergize with, so if you would like to use Sword Dance, that is, again, the same barrage type ability, synergy trait that you would use against enemies that are staggered or stunned. And then Swashbuckler is the same as Morbius, where he will slash through enemies, but then not deal as much damage. So, Legendary Tail and Bounce Strike are what I would use as when I play Nightcrawler. Again, he's very fun on that X-Men team that I showed. So, modding him up with piercing damage and then strength is the way to go. Now, finally, we get into S tier. I will go from the bottom up, since that is probably the best way to do it. I put Infinite Thanos at the bottom of S tier.
I only have one
Mr.
simple
Fantastic.
goal, to fix everything.
I
Ms.
won't
Marvel.
let you down. At least I hope not.
I've got
And then
my
Cyclops.
eyes on the prize.
In my opinion, I did the wrong Thanos, didn't I? Okay, let me...
This will be entertaining.
Okay, there we go. Infinite Thanos will be unlocked at level 230 after you complete the epilogue on Ultimate Difficulty. He does have total resistance as well as teleport, so he is the only heavy character, I believe the only super strength character, that can double jump. He has very well-rounded stats, though they are a lot higher than the average. 25,000 offense and defense, offense on both of his stats, 21,000 defense on both of his stats, and 51,000 vitality. His energy is the only stat that is actually normal for everyone else in the game. His abilities can, I believe, all be charged and held to use his Infinity Gauntlet. In my opinion, No Escape and Chronal Disruption are the best abilities to use. They both deal some good damage. Then Soul Siphon will regenerate EP as well as HP. Infinite Thanos cannot do any synergies, as you will notice. He has no synergy traits, and he cannot equip ISO 8 since he uses each of the Infinity Stones. He is very good, but I do not think that he is the best character in the game. If you did a solo against Infinite Thanos, then he is the best character in the game. But on a team, Infinite Thanos doesn't do the best because synergies are a very core part of what makes this game so special. Next, I'll talk about Mr. Fantastic. He has Extended Radius, which is an area assault, which you will be able to continue attacking and move around with. So in this area assault, he will elongate his arms, continue spinning, and then deal damage while he is spinning, his arms extended. Stretching Slam is a good grab and pummel ability. Full Momentum, he will roll into a ball and be able to attack while going through and bouncing off walls, going through enemies and bouncing off walls. And does okay damage. Elongated Attack is the same type of barrage ability that you'll use when enemies are stunned, but in my opinion, Extended Radius and Full Momentum are the best abilities that he can use in general. He has solid damage, but then extremely high durability. It is very good, along with most of the rest of the Fantastic Four. I believe I forgot to mention, Moon Knight and Mr. Fantastic are some of the only characters in this game to have the glide mechanic. This will not decrease your energy points, unlike Flight, but you will be able to jump twice and then glide back to the ground while moving forward. And this is very helpful for traversing quickly. Ms. Marvel has the exact same thing. Giant foot spinny thingy is often called spin to win because you will be able to perform a tornado kick with an enlarged foot and you continue spinning. It is very nice, especially if you have Phoenix on the team. You can continuously regenerate your energy points and then continue spinning while doing the synergy of Area Assault. I will mention Super Face Kick and Embiggen and Super Face Kick and Embiggen are both very good synergy abilities as well, having Charge and Slam on their synergy trait. Her strength is pretty good, and you can bolster this even higher. But I would recommend having at least one ISO 8 that increases her resistance to being interrupted while attacking, because she will continuously attack so frequently with her Area Assault synergy trait. Cyclops is, in my opinion, the ultimate point and shoot. He has Optic Blast, a beam, which is very good for synergy. Triple Shot is a launch ability, does good damage. Ricochet Beam, and then Eyes Wide Open. Eyes Wide Open is a bash energy damage ability, does very high synergy damage. Ricochet Beam doesn't do as high damage, but the beam can bounce off of walls. So in any arena where you are in an enclosed environment, try using Ricochet Beam, and you will see that this beam bouncing off walls anywhere from 3 to 10 times will deal quite a bit of damage. So if you are able to spam this ability in an enclosed arena, you will deal a lot of damage, solely using Ricochet Beam and Eyes Wide Open. I bolstered Cyclops' mastery quite high, using a lot of double mastery rainbow ISOs, but that is it for this team. Next on the list of S tier, going up, we have
You will not
Colossus,
regret your decision. I promise you.
Human Torch,
Here comes
Iceman.
your favorite Sub-Zero hero.
and actually, we get to finally talk
Reporting
about
for
Captain
duty.
America. First off, Colossus. I briefly went over him before. He does have 31,000 strength, the way I modded him. I put him, again, with a lot of strength, and then he does have HP recovery, as well as health steal of that ISO there. So he will stay alive, especially with his cold hard steel safeguard mechanic. He will be able to move while holding this ability, but he does not move that quickly. So you can reposition yourself to be able to synergize, but it is a little bit difficult to correctly synergize safeguard sometimes. So in my opinion, Silver Slam and Armored Assault are his best abilities. Both of these will be different if you grab an enemy. You cannot grab every enemy, but the light enemies, you will deal quite a bit of damage to them. It's honestly quite vicious, but hey, Colossus is S tier for that reason. He does a lot of damage, and he has a very high survivability on the team. Human Torch. I believe Human Torch is one of the best fire users in the game. He's just such high damage. It shows that he only has about 14,000 mastery, but I have modified him to do a lot of burning damage, which does not show up in the mastery stat. Flash Forward, Fireball, Rising Heat, Controlled Burn, these are all S tier abilities. Very, very good. I would recommend always having Controlled Burn out because it does deal quite a bit of damage and add fire element to ally attacks. So on top of the burning damage, Human Torch does quite a bit of damage, and therefore I have modded him to recover health based on the damage he deals, which is the health steal that I've been talking about. And then decreasing the amount of attacks you must land to inflict a status effect is quite important. And then increases the damage onto burning enemies. Just fire on top of fire. Very, very good. He doesn't have as much durability, resilience, or vitality, but again, he can fly, he has cold and fire resistance, so he is quite resistant to everything and very evasive with flight. Iceman is a grounded version of Human Torch. He has mid-air slide, which is not the same as glide, but similar. He has both fire and cold resistance, which helps a lot. And he has, again, a lot of very good synergy attacks. Fast Freeze is actually a defense boost for your entire team. He can reduce the damage to them, and grant them the ability element Ice. Ice Impact and Shimmering Shards are melee-based abilities, so keep in mind those are both strength-based, but I would bolster his mastery because he can get quite a bit of mastery. He has a very high base mastery, and using Arctic Blast, he can freeze enemies and even bosses very, very quickly. He's very good. I have even froze enemies, light enemies, by that, with his basic attacks. I have modded him to decrease the number of attacks he must land for inflicting a status effect 3 times. I have a skill 3 times on him, and the more you use this effect, you will notice a very big difference in the speed that you can freeze enemies. So, Shimmering Shards and Arctic Blast will both freeze enemies very, very, very quickly with this build. Captain America. Shield Dash and Shield Strike are very nice abilities. They deal solid damage. Shield Dash is actually very, very good for stagger. Super Soldiers will boost the attack damage of all team members for a short time, and then absolute defense is a safeguard mechanic. So Captain America can roll and use safeguard, set up a synergy with Iron Man or really anyone else on his team, because beams can be reflected with safeguard, and then some other abilities can as well. Super soldiers, you'll probably spam this as much as you need to keep the attack damage bonus going as much as possible. And then shield strike can rebound off of walls and enemies to hit multiple enemies at once, and then you'll get your shield back, of course. I put increase in melee damage and stagger damage, and then he will also heal and have the increasing likelihood to be targeted, because he does have that safeguard ability. His strength isn't as high, but with the Super Soldier's buff, it is very good. He does a bit of damage, quite a bit of synergy damage and stagger damage, so in general, I would boost his melee and stagger damage just like you would for some others. So that is it for this team. Next up, I have
Stand
Sue
clear.
Storm,
I've got this.
Hulk,
Turn to smash. It's
Thing.
clear at time.
and
You want the
Wolverine.
best. You got it.
Now, you may notice every single one of the Fantastic Four are in S tier, and there's a good reason for that. They all have something special with their basic attacks, whether it is a charge on their basic attacks, like an ability to charge up to deal more damage, or just something wacky that they can do. Mr. Fantastic can repeatedly use his aerial attack without having to stop it. Invisible Woman can charge up her heavy attack to deal quite a big blast. Human Torch can move around while holding and consistently attacking with his heavy attack, which is, in my opinion, one of the best heavy attacks in the game. And then Thing has a very, very, very strong combo finisher, as well as being able to charge up his heavy attack. Invisible Woman has one of the best defense abilities in the game. You will create a barrier from all teammates, protecting them from ranged attacks, as well as mitigating some damage from melee attacks, which is quite great. Stealth Strike is very cool. You can hold the button to go invisible, and then just like Miles Morales, you will deal bash synergy. You'll be able to do bash synergy trait damage, which is also very high damage as well as stagger damage. I know it says only C stagger, but Stealth Strike, and the same thing with Miles Morales, except his is auto targeting. Invisible Woman, you can just walk around and target someone and then deal very, very high damage. Her damage is all energy, so I've modded her out with very, very, very high energy and mastery. So, Invisible Woman is, again, one of the best supports in the game, even though she does have extremely high damage as is. Her energy and mastery are very good. Hulk is arguably one of the best tanks in the game, one of the best two. Obviously, Hulk Smash is a very good ability. Unstoppable Charge, not as good, but he has Thunderclap, which is Bash. Oh yes, Bash and Slam are two of the best synergy traits in the game. And then Gamma Slam. All of his abilities are pretty good, except Unstoppable Charge, which is just charging forward. Yes, you can pin enemies to the wall and then Hulk Smash, but I would prefer to use Thunderclap and Hulk Smash more. Because, yes, I have boosted his strength, but increasing his energy point recovery rate, and then strength and increased resistance to being interrupted, and then if I'm able to find something that increases his aggression, or sorry, the enemy's aggression against him. So making him be targeted by the enemies is very helpful, because then enemies would come to him and he would just non-stop use his abilities Hulk Smash and Thunderclap to deal a lot of great damage against enemies. His abilities all do very good damage. Again, Thing, one of the top 2 tanks in the game, and the only reason that I would put Thing above Hulk is because he has double clobber, which is a hold, charge into double punch. I've seen this ability do over 200,000 damage without any buffs to the team. So without Captain America's buff, Thing can do 200,000 damage. So that is 4 to 5 times as much damage as some other abilities can do. He also has Ground Pound, which he can continuously attack with. Power Punch, he'll charge forward. Ready to Rock is a safeguard ability. Even though it says melee, it is a safeguard until he drops it, punches the rock, and then does melee damage. So this should be shown differently. Anyway, Ready to Rock is very important for getting through the epilogue. Many times you will go through lasers and then the Celestials' attacks, and the devs assume that you'll be able to use Ready to Rock to get through that. And just walk through by using Ready to Rock and holding the button and just walking forward. This will not shield your allies from it, but you will be able to get through and then teleport your allies to your position. So I have modded him to have very high strength, and he does also have very, very high durability naturally. So lastly, we have Wolverine. I talked about him briefly before. Primal Rage increases attack. I like using Adamantium Assault, which is a launch, and Berserker Barrage is a charge. Both of these, very good synergies, very high damage together. And then you can use Claw Strike again when enemies are stunned or even just staggered. Wolverine is in some of the best compositions in the game, but yes, mod him for piercing and strength. Piercing, damage, and strength. Now we get to the few best in the game. First of all, it's Doom. Secondly,
Allow me
Peaks.
to rise to the occasion.
And then I would put
You have chosen
Black Panther
well.
up at third best. Now, the reason I put Black Panther up here above Wolverine is he does have a higher base strength. He is also way more agile, and he does have a safeguard. Panther Claw, Area Assault, and Vibranium Slash are all very, very strong. However, Vibranium Slash is potentially the strongest stagger damage ability in the entire game. Not to mention, it is a bash synergy trait. So he will dash up against an enemy, deal bash synergy damage, and then massively delete stagger bars. I would recommend loading him up with stagger damage as well as piercing, strength, and whatever you can. One thing that is unique to Black Panther is that if you use your aerial attack and it hits an enemy, you will bounce off of them and be able to do it again. I don't have a good video of this right now, but I will try to take a video of this as soon as I can to upload. It is very unique to Black Panther, and it makes complete sense because he can bounce off of shoulders while attacking and continue to do that. Phoenix is just extremely powerful. She has very strong abilities, some of which can be held. Telekinetic Talon does amazing damage, as well as the fire ability attribute. And then her most important ability, Cleansing Flames, will put out a field that does continuous damage on foes onto the field, which is converted into EP that she can absorb. Notice, this amount of EP that is absorbed is directly correlated to the damage that you can do. Therefore, the more enemies that are in that field, the more energy points you can absorb. If there are bosses on the field and not many enemies, it's still worth using. But if there are tons and tons of enemies on the field, and you continuously use your abilities with this ability out, you won't feel any decrease in your energy points for the entire team while this is out. So this makes Phoenix just purely the best support attacker in the game. She will be able to continuously give out energy points and allow your allies to continuously use their abilities and synergize with everyone else through the entire time. And with her fire damage and just her extremely, extremely high mastery, I have bolstered her with stagger damage, decreasing the amount of attacks you must land, to inflict status effects, recovery, crit chance, and then Phoenix Force effects, as well as being an elemental reborn after being revived. So this is 2 Phoenix Force effects, and the third one I put on Wolverine because that one was specific and required the user to be able to be burning, have it used. I'm not sure if that was a glitch, but I put 2 of them on Phoenix, and she does extremely well. Now, notice, her durability and vitality are some of the lowest stats in the game, so be careful. She will be easy to kill. So if she takes too many hits, she can go down, which is another reason that she's unique. She has fire resistance and flight, but with her extreme attack, you will be able to revive anyone on the battlefield without touching them. You'll be able to just revive for free, which is very nice when you're in the midst of battle and you need to revive an ally, but the enemies don't let you do that because they're continuously attacking. Okay, where do I start? Dr. Doom is the best in the game, and I made a note of this because he is just that good. First of all, he has a very high mastery, which I have further bolstered in his ISO 8. But mostly it's for the control that he allows on the battlefield. He has a shock ability attribute, and Loyal Servant will summon a Doombot. Anywhere on the field, it has a very, very long range. It will zap foes with electricity, and you can put it anywhere on the field. So this not only adds the shock ability attribute or element to ally attacks, it's a constant shock synergy trait, which means that if you are playing as Doom and you put this right next to a boss, any abilities that your allies do attacking that boss will automatically synergize with the shock ability attribute from the Doombot. Not to mention, the Doombot will copy every single one of your abilities that you do while the Doombot is spawned. After one ability is over, the Doombot will disappear, but you can just spawn another one and then do it again. And Unmatched Might and Spark of Genius can both be repeatedly used. So Spark of Genius, the Doombot will continue attacking as well, and then Unmatched Might you can hold with the Doombot to create self-synergy with where the beam intersects the Doombot's beam, and the rapid fire from Spark of Genius intersects with the Doombot as well. So that's just his abilities. Not to mention, his teleport animation is very, very good. It has almost no lag, which means that you can spam it, and he also flies. Doom has flight. I will mention on Spark of Genius, it is a wide angle shock ability attribute, so you will be able to shock and stagger, or stun, I should say, enemies by paralyzing them very quickly with that. His aerial attack is the best in the game. You will fire 3 homing missiles that are very spammable. It is great for energy point regeneration, which is another reason why I have the increases damage done when your HP is 80% or more, and then increases recovery rate for this. So you'll be able to increase recovery just as fast as you're using it up. He is great for mid to, well, I guess mid-range setups, not necessarily long or close range, but he is amazing for mid-range setups. He is very easy to use. The Doombot is a permanent shock ability attribute. I talked about that. He has insane control over the battlefield, and his guard is putting up a what do you call it? A barrier around him. It's putting a barrier up around him, and it looks really cool. As well as his heavy attack, which is a teleport into very strong punch. Personally,
You got it.
I use
Here comes your favorite Sub-Zero
this team
hero.
because everyone can get the Phoenix Force effect. Human Torch, Iceman, and Phoenix are all immune to it. Dr. Doom has a lot of EP and HP recovery due to what I have his ISOs. I should mention Dr. Doom's rapid fire ability can also break the mystical barriers in the Dark Dimension and the pods in Epilogue in the negative zone pretty easily, and his explosion can stagger pretty easily as well, especially if you are in the same area as your Doombot. This team gets a 6% mastery bonus, which all of them are mastery-based characters, and, well, in my opinion, this is the best team in the game. You can substitute Human Torch for Hulk, or for Wolverine, or really anyone in A or S tier, but this team has a lot of control, a lot of ability attributes, and just a lot of damage. So, that's it for the tier list.